Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
What is going on, everyone? This is Reckless Speculation. I'm going to be your host tonight, and Robbie, unfortunately, is not going to make it. He is typically our host. We're trying to do a little change-up thing here, changing the host here and there. But Robbie is under the weather a little bit, so I get to talk a lot more crap, and he can't defend himself about how bad his fantasy draft was. So that's going to be awesome. And yeah, Raj will be joining us soon, as usual. He's slightly late, but let's go ahead and give it up for our sponsors. Sponsored by Davis, Kessler, and Davis. If you need a lawyer anywhere in the Chattanooga, Franklin County area, these guys are good. Even the cat can get out of jail, so never forget that. Also sponsored by C&W Construction. We can build anything you want from ground up, including pools, outdoor living, remodels, whatever you want, we can do it. And let's welcome Tom Sloan.
Brandon, I have been looking forward to this episode for the fact that lots of shit in the game, as they like to say up here in Detroit. There's a lot of shit in the game, referring to this fantasy football draft. So I'm excited to get this thing going.
Oh man, it was an epic weekend. We had a blast. Robbie shit the bed as usual. He was terrible. Like I said, he will try and defend himself on chat here, but again, his chats will be as bad as his draft. So we'll just start with that.
Wow.
But how you been, man? Everything good?
Doing real good. I was in Robbie's shoes last week. Not really sure what it was, just a little upper congestion and sinuses, just the icks. And it wasn't suitable for me to be on air. So, unfortunately, we weren't able to go, but excited about this one tonight.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Like I said, Raj will be joining us shortly. But we are going to go ahead and dive into it. Our fantasy draft. One day Tom's going to be there. So let's not put that out.
I hope so.
One day Tom will be there. We do have a few states between us, so it's a little harder to schedule, but he will be there one day. But just off, that's the picture. Same old crew.
And can we pay attention to the lower right of the screen? I'm not sure if the fireball started when that picture was taken, but Raj looked like he was probably backstage at a Leonard Skinner concert at this point.
Yeah, there had been a couple fireball shots at this point. I was sober during the draft, so I do remember details here. So this is what's going to make it interesting.
It looks like it was a lot of fun.
We had a blast. We rented a lake house. 12 guys. We've been part of it for several years. I mean, hell, the only championship Robbie's ever won is like in 2004, and that was back when no one knew what fantasy was, and we were drafting like Titans players, and so that's his only. I don't think he's made the playoffs in like 6 years or 7 years, something like that. So,
and he's not even here to defend himself. That's
I know. What's even better is we're going to get to look at his draft, and that's going to be the best.
We are.
So
we are. We are.
Let's go ahead and just throw that up there. Tom, throw it up and just give me your take on, out of our Southern boys that you know that we all podcast with, what do you like?
Well, and Raj is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Raj is here. Perfect time as I'm going over the drafts. I will start with Robbie. I like his first round. I like his first pick. Obviously, last year, if you guys have been listening to previous shows, last year he decided to go with Mark Andrews over Travis Kelce. So this year he made sure that wasn't going to happen. So I will give his first pick. I like his second pick. I think Devonta Smith is gonna have an okay season. Maybe he could have got him a little bit lower, but he's going to get value fantasy wise. But I'm sorry to say, after that, it was downhill from there. it was downhill from there.
Yes,
Alvin,
it was.
Alvin Kamara is, who knows if he's going to be playing. I know he's suspended. So, and Travis Etienne has a history of injuries. DJ Moore, I think he's going to get some value, being that he's playing with Justin Fields, so he's going to get a lot of dink and dunk, so he's going to get a lot of yards. Marquise Brown has looked horrible in camp. And then you go two more spots down, you got Kirk Cousins, which...
Let's stop right there, and let's talk about this transition. So, Mr. Davis here, he had this little note card, because sometimes, you need notes when you drink so much. You gotta have that go to, like, who am I picking next kind of deal. He had this game plan to go with Rodgers right here. And I sniped him. For no reason. I didn't need another quarterback in that position, but I knew he wanted Rodgers. And I took him, and that was called defensive drafting. That is my team name this year, and I also have a picture of Aaron Rodgers as my little avatar dude. So there you go, Rob. That's all for you. And it just, the greatest part about that, and Raj can attest that he said he would not draft Kirk Cousins. And what'd he do? He folded. He went to, there were 7 quarterbacks better than Kirk Cousins at that point, and he folded and drafted Kirk Cousins. So,
wow.
It was great. But yes, continue. Sorry.
Raj, are you with us? Can you hear us? Oh, we can't hear you. No. All
right. Yeah. Keep going.
We'll figure out Raj's situation. But yeah, and then he went a couple more spots down, and now he's already chimed in with with a couple question marks. But of course, the homer pick of the draft, Ryan Tannehill, even though maybe Jared Goff was sitting there, he could have taken, but ladies and gentlemen,
Goff was there. Goff didn't go till what round? Round 14.
Oh, so I do like the defensive pick. The Lions, their secondary's improved quite a bit, and their second round steal and Brian Branch could be the defensive rookie of the year. It's going to give them a lot of potential fantasy points. So I do like that draft pick. I'll move over to you, Brandon. Obviously, Justin Jefferson was the number 1 player on the board. Good pickup. Josh Jacobs is interesting because he hasn't signed yet, and we'll get into that a little bit further. I think Calvin Ridley might be the comeback player of the year. I like that pick. Hawkinson is looking to make top-tier tight end money. He's on a contract year. So this is a potential big-time fantasy player here. Trevor Goldilocks Lawrence, this is his year. He's either going to make out or break out. So, and I think there's a lot of potential there. and obviously your Aaron Rodgers, shiesty pick there, we'll call it the knife move. I do like late round Michael Gallup pickup. So you've got some depth. You built a lot of good depth with starting talent. Adam Thielen, he's going to be Bryce Young's security blanket. So that's a really nice draft. Robbie Davis has entered the building, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go over to.
He couldn't take it. He couldn't take it.
Well, Raj, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah. You're back on board. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go through Raj's draft, and I'm going to say right out the gate, out of the three, I think Raj did the best draft. I think his draft was the best. Cooper Kupp, he's going to have a solid year. This is a comeback year. He's the type of player that's not going to be happy with the production that he missed out on at the end of the season with the injury. Chris Olave is a beast in New Orleans, which will be the Derek Carr comeback tour. The Saints are going to win the South. It's going to be on the backs of Chris Olave. I think that's a good one. Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's going to throw for a gazillion yards. I think he's going to not get as many rushing yards this year because health considers situation. So I look for him to air it out a lot more. Kenneth Walker, the third, he's a solid back if he's healthy. You're going to have Pacheco, who made a name for himself in Kansas City. You keep going down. Drake London in Atlanta, I could see him having a nice year. Then he went for my boy Sam Laporta, rookie from the Lions, who this offense is designed for a tight end like him, and I really see him having a really solid year. So I like his draft. And then if we could go over to Randall real quick, I do bias level like his first pick in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Homer pick in Derrick Henry. Jerry Jeudy is news out of camp today. He tore his hamstring, so he's going to be out maybe 6 weeks. I think Randall likes his Falcons, so he went with Kyle Pitts, which there's another guy that hasn't really produced much. He hasn't really made a name for himself yet. Could this be the year? Maybe. So quarterback Dak Prescott, we all know he's one of the most overrated players in football. So this is an okay draft. Nothing to, say I'm going to win the whole league. But you know what? That's the beauty of fantasy. He could pull it off, just like Robbie could pull it off. But overall, I like what Raj did. Brandon, I think you drafted with a lot of depth, and when you have bye weeks, I think it's going to come in hand. Robbie just drafted Kirk Cousins. So
let me just defend my draft here for a second. I can't stay on here for all night long. So all you people out there that do your internet drafts, you have to understand with the board up there, it's a lot more difficult. I'm petitioning to get the board taken down because I had Kelsey sitting there. Mahomes was coming back around, and I was going to pair him up, but some jackass took Mahomes way too early and then prevented me from doing that. Then later on, I have a great positioning to get Rodgers in the late round. No one needs a quarterback. It's just sitting there floating right to me. And then Chain, for no reason besides being a jackass, it's like, I'm going to pick a second quarterback just sit on my bench all year just so Rob can't have Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, in our defense, there's a lot of alcohol. We don't condone that. There are shots, definitely before, at the end of every 2 rounds. And then we keep going. You can see with me real quick that I derailed. I was upstairs. There's no chance in hell for multiple reasons, but there were young 21-year-olds that were friends of Robbie's nieces, and I was talking to them and taking shots. And you could see when I came downstairs and I derailed, just getting a chain and Tyjae Spears, and their home run picks. Usually, I don't go quarterback until 7th or 8th round. Dummies, like Robbie said, jump on them early. Somebody went Mahomes, and then somebody went Burrow. So in my third round, Josh Allen, who is arguably the top fantasy quarterback, throwing and rushing, was still there. Yeah, and by the way, Robbie did have 2nd overall pick, and he picked Kelsey. I feel we have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I went Laporta. I ended up getting Dulacich and a few others. But Laporta, as Tom knows, Hawkinson had 12 games his rookie year, 60-plus targets, 101 targets the next year. Goff loves his tight ends, and that offense is built for that. And then I went Anthony Richardson as my backup in 7th or 8th round, just, low risk, maybe high reward, although we all feel that if you can't throw the ball in college, I don't know how you're going to do it in the NFL. But, I usually have philosophies, and then I have like 20 drinks, and they all go out the window, and I pick home run picks instead of reliable dudes, and I take quarterbacks early. I didn't even draft a defensive kicker. That was on purpose, but you can tell where I fucking rails.
I will say this. You take those 4 drafts out of a snapshot, and you'll be like, oh, someone in that league with those 4 drafts, someone must have had an awesome draft. This is a year we were all over the board. Everyone was reaching. It was like, why are you doing that? Everyone's draft was terrible. Randall just mentioned, I'd love to hear what y'all say about mine. His team is awful. Like the worst team I've ever seen drafted. Like he had Judy. He's already down to not even enough receivers, and the NFL season hasn't started yet.
I know he was the only other sober one there with me, and he folded like a cheap suit, man. Like I don't know what happened to him.
Let me see his team. What's his team name again?
Go Joe Buck yourself.
Right.
I do like his first pick was fine though.
I think it's.
Derrick Henry's fine.
Well,
when you start getting down,
he's about to trade that to me.
To Judy and beyond is where it starts getting sketchy. But his first 3 were solid.
I love Waddle. That's a great pick. Kevin Harris in the what? Why would he go in the 4th round with Kevin Harris? Like Ramondre's the guy. And then they signed Zeke before that. So yeah, he must have been on something there. He'll rationalize, but he has no voice. 5th round, Breece Hall, great pick. Had practiced that week.
I think you're looking at the wrong.
Yeah,
I thought you said you're looking at the wrong.
Anyway,
I'm looking at Joe Buck yourself.
Yeah, that's Randall, I think. Maybe it's not. I think it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Whatever, dude. Oh yeah, dude. That's what I'm looking at, bro.
Yeah. My
Oh no, the freaking draft recap's jacked up. Never mind. He went Ramondre. Derek.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not what I got on.
Gino's pretty bad, but I like Henry, Ramondre, Amon-Ra's a great pick.
Hey, if Gino's your starter, you're terrible. And also, one last defense of my team.
$2 is not good.
Everyone's giving me shit about Kirk Cousins. If Jefferson's the number 1 player overall, Cousins throws him the ball. That's got to be worth something. He
also throws 3 interceptions a game, which
he lights it up, but
he doesn't throw enough yardage.
He lights it up, but he's an undrafted free agent. He's not worth a selection there.
Well, the other thing I picked up at the draft was COVID, it looks like. So I'm going to get off here, guys. I just wanted to defend my team.
Are you positive, dude?
Well, so brief story. So I went to the doctor today, and he's like, yeah, it's probably COVID. And I was like, well, I'm testing negative. He's like, yeah, it's probably COVID. And I was like, he's like, you're negative till you're not, and then you're going to be positive. And I was like, well.
Did he do a PCR or just like, did they do it brain style?
Yeah, and I was like, well, could it be something else? He's like, I mean, it could, but it's probably COVID. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, good talk.
You're fucking doctor, dude.
I was like, seems like you guys really got a good handle on this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Doctor,
they can turn it in and then they'll get more money.
Yeah. I was like, my insurance just did this. But all right, boys, enjoy the show. I'm gonna watch from my scratchy voice and my cough syrup and whiskey.
Feel better,
right.
buddy.
All right.
Screwdriver, bro.
See you guys
Orange
next week.
juice, vitamin C.
All right. Moving on from what was a great weekend. Raj can attest.
I think.
Yeah. From
fucking
what
hurt.
you
I
remember,
went to
yeah,
yesterday.
you were in good shape. Let's talk
I
about
slept in
this.
a bunk bed, dude. I slept in a bunk bed for the first time since like '88. So I don't know how great a shape I was.
Still recovering.
Yeah, dude, pretty jacked up. But sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. Let's talk about this Harbaugh situation in the Big Ten. Harbaughgate. Here we go. This self-induced, whether it was him agreeing or them trying to get ahead of something here. I'm going to go to you, Tom, our resident Michigan fan. What are your thoughts on this? Like, if this doesn't suffice and the NCAA comes back next year and slaps another 3 or 4 games on him, does Harbaugh stay?
That's a great question because to me, I think the university is doing this. I don't think they're doing it without consent from Harbaugh. I think they're on the same page when it comes to that. They're doing it to try and get one up on the NCAA. This group that is responsible for kind of overseeing these suspensions. Personally, I think they're doing it because they can afford to do it this year because let's face it, their non-conference is a cupcake once again. But that's not the case next year. They've got Texas coming to the Big House for the first time ever. Their non-conference is a little more trickier. And now if you don't have Harbaugh in that situation, then there's some questions that could be had. But I think it all comes down to this season. If they go out and they win the Big Ten championship for the 3rd year in a row, if they go into the college football playoffs and bring home the championship, and the NCAA says, well, we don't think that punishment was fair enough, we're going to give you more. Do I think Harbaugh uses that as an excuse to jump ship? I really do. Because what else does he need to do as far as a coach goes? He got to the Super Bowl and he lost to his brother. So you can imagine what that does to a competitive spirit like Harbaugh.
Sure.
So that spirit is burning, and as much so that he's tempted to go back in the NFL. I think this makes it more prone for him to definitely go and leave Michigan if they win a national championship this year. If they don't, I think he sucks it up and he stays. But that's a big if they can win it. So, and then it also depends on how many games. Does the NCAA come in and say, hey, we're going to credit you 3 games because you sat out 3 games in the 23 season. So we were looking ideally 4 to 6. We'll meet somewhere in the middle. We'll suspend you for the first 2 games. That might change the scenario. But if the NCAA comes out and says, it's not about buying a hamburger. It's all about the violations that you continue to do and you lied and blah, blah, blah. 4 games isn't enough, 6-game suspension. Then, yeah, I can see him saying, you know what? I'm out. So,
yeah.
But it all depends on how this season plays out.
Bro, real quick, dude, this is total gamesmanship. I think Harbaugh is brilliant. I think he's doing a full-on, hey, like the Steve Irwin, like there'd be a snake. He'd be like, hey, look over here, Mike, like a shiny red ball. Mm-hmm. He announced today that his dad is going to be assistant head coach. He's having 4 different dudes coach the first 3 games. Kevin Minter, not Kevin Minter, Jesse Minter, the DC, Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator. And then the third game, it's going to be his brother, Jay, and then the running backs coach, which I think is Mike Hart.
Mike Hart, yep. And Jay's the tight end coach.
Not only that, but that's kind of a talking point. Like, hey, look over here. Number 2, the NCAA is fucking powerless. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas basketball has done this twice, last November being the second time, and that's doing the self-imposed sanctions route. And the NCAA has done nothing since. They are more powerless now than they've ever been. What grounds do they have? There's no standard for them to say, oh, that's not enough, based upon what? Especially after the NIL deals. Reggie Bush is suing right now for defamation, rightfully so, for a reason. So I think anybody that's done self-imposed sanctions, as far as I remember, nothing else has happened. KU Hoops did this. I think Harbaugh is just playing gamesmanship, giving talking points, letting others, just a total fuck you to the NCAA. I think it's brilliant. And I do think they have a really good shot for the national championship this year as well. And this is going to help.
Yeah. So you kind of took the question out of my mouth, Raj. I was going to say to you, how much power do you think the NCAA really holds here? Obviously none.
After USC in 2010, the fucking sanctions being lifted.
Nowadays,
exactly. After that, I realized, that was their scapegoat. Since then, nothing.
Oh, look at what happened with Tennessee. They made them forfeit games to a season that really didn't mean a whole lot, and they didn't play well. So it wasn't much of a punishment. So the fact that they wanted to go to this extent just showed that they're they were being real petty. And Feinbaum, who's a notorious Harbaugh hater, even agreed, like, this makes no sense. It's just complete and utter BS, and the NCAA just looks really stupid for it.
To answer your excellent question, like Tom said, they can only be reactive. They can't be proactive anymore. Now they can be, but they have, for all intents and purposes, no power. No one respects them. Like I said, self-imposed for a reason. What are they going to do? And based upon what? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point here. And that leads up to the big power conferences that are forming right now as we speak. And I mean, they're going to take their ball and go somewhere else. Like, it's NCAA college basketball, the tournament, that's about all they have left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be anxious to see what happens. I think Michigan imposing that on themselves shows a little merit there with whatever ramifications that come about. Like you said, almost a credit towards his suspension. Now, granted, the first 3 or 4 games this year are way, way easier. So let's go ahead and get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need anyone there. So smart by them. But at the same time, I think that will suffice. And the NCAA will feel like, oh, yeah, well, we did something, kind of deal. But yet to be seen. We'll see how that plays out.
They'll drag it out as long as they can.
They will. So moving on, let's go to a streak that has been a very long winning streak in the preseason with the Baltimore Ravens. 24 straight. I mean, this is pretty impressive, guys. Did any of you guys have money against the Ravens in the preseason game this last week? So let's go to you,
Who's
Ryan.
betting money on preseason football? I mean,
even my boy that has serious problems and goes and gets a line of credit for 15 G's and doesn't make enough money at Vegas is like, what kind of degenerate would bet on preseason games? being said, I think Robbie does.
I do.
Which makes a ton of sense. But I did not bet against the Ravens. But quickly, I will say that traditionally there's no correlation. I think you're going to ask that between, but I just think, and I'll let you ask your great questions, but it's a testament to the Ravens and their organization. Usually good teams don't have great rosters. They don't have a lot of spots to fill. They're pulling all kinds of guys and dudes off the trash heap to compete. And this says so much, going back to Ozzie Newsome, about their talent evaluation, development, and coaching. This says a lot about that organization, because honestly, I thought you guys meant the Orioles and the streak that they had about not getting swept for like 70 plus. I had no idea the Ravens had won 24 straight preseason games. That's 6 freaking years in a row of undefeated, dude. That's it's not like it's impressive, but it's crazy, especially for a good team.
Crazy is the right way I would say it. It is not impressive, and to consider this even a streak of any merit is asinine to me.
Well, it's an impressive in a sense that nobody knew about it until it actually happened. So
it keeps going and going and going. Well, I mean, where do you stand on this, Tom? Like, obviously, I personally don't think it translates to real season, play, but it is somewhat of an impressive unknown hidden streak, like that was going on for 6 years apparently.
And I'm going to start off by saying we're getting hit hard with a storm. If I disappear, you'll know why. The lights are flickering, so they're in the background. So I'm hoping the power stays on. But
Stay
no,
safe, what about the 2008 Lions, Tom? Can you tell us about them?
0-6, 0-17. They were preseason champs, 4-0 that year. But no, I mean, I think if you look at the grand scheme of things, it just shows you the organization as a whole, the scouting department being able to go out and bring in second, third string guys that can compete. In the preseason, it worked. Unfortunately.
We just
like
hope
we're
he's
starting
safe
to lose
there.
Tom here.
I hope he's safe. That is a sweet pause, though.
It is.
Yeah. Just like the 2017 Browns, man. 4-0 in the preseason, 0-16.
Right.
I would love to hear, and traditionally it's the opposite. There's definitely no correlation. I was researching earlier. I'm wearing Little League jersey from practice, which is an excuse for not researching enough, and I'm sorry about that. But I looked at the win streak, and it was actually pretty impressive. There were some blowouts, but it's obvious that the third and fourth quarters meant a lot to that staff, and I want to get your thoughts on that, because I know how you feel about the preseason, but what do you think about it?
So this year's different, right? You typically have like a progression of cutting rosters, right, in the preseason. So you get down, you work your way to the 53. This year it's different. So you keep everyone's fighting for that last spot. You don't cut 10 or 20, per game. It's you wait till the end this year. So
Why
is
is that
changed? I don't know what they did. Maybe because there's only 3 preseason games now. I don't know.
Did they cut down? Did they change the cut dates
No,
and amount because of that, or has talent just improved?
I think they changed the cut date. I don't think it's necessarily talent's improved. I think the whole situation has changed. So now everyone gets, and it's easier on the coaches too. So they get to play these guys. And hey, for these guys that had only one shot years ago in one game for 17 snaps and that's it, now they get a whole nother 17 snaps in another game. So it's good for the players, I think, and also good for the coaches because they can wait to cut and really see what they need depth wise, and who's actually going to make the roster, or advocate for the practice squad. That's a big part of the team, and that goes unnoticed is how important the practice squad is. And those guys,
massive.
Yeah.
You've been pretty critical about the preseason, just hilariously dogging on it through the years off the screen. There's been discussion of scrapping it all together, going to 1 or 2 games. Do we ditch the preseason? Should we? Does that happen in the future? What do you think?
As a fan, yeah, I don't care to watch any preseason game.
Charging full price for that shit, dude. That's what's nuts, man.
That's what happens is, I'm paying the same as I am if Kansas City comes to the freaking gates on a Sunday night, it's the same price. So yes, as a fan, preseason sucks, but I get the process and I get the business side and the player side of it. Like, they're fighting for positions and jobs there, and it's necessary. So do I watch it? Is it hard to watch? Yes. I don't watch it. Yes, it's hard to watch. I do have 2 preseason tickets available for the Titans game tomorrow at 7:15 if anyone wants them. Other than that, I do not go to preseason games.
Bro, it's straight up dark, pitch black in this place, but you've got your computer and stuff on.
Thankfully for hot spots, I'm back and I'm using my phone light to get it on. It's bad. It's really bad here. So
wow.
We're gonna do our best with what we got. So
all right. Enough of that in the preseason.
Real quick, if we ditch the preseason, then we don't have rookie shows. And those are the best part of Hard Knocks. Jerome Cap, big ups, doing the 8 mile, the battle, 4 pot.
So if I could chime in really quick.
Yeah.
About alternatives, not in the preseason games. I do like that they seem to be instituting more, and forgive that dog. Oh, she's just a big chicken. They're doing a lot of inter-team practices. I think that's a good way to still get game type play, game type action, without the threat of your quarterback going down, because you can't touch the quarterback, and really you don't have a lot of contact, but they're still getting game speed type of plays. I think that is an alternative to playing these games, because I think sooner or later it's going to come down to, you know what, we're losing these upper echelon players in preseason meaningless games, and not to mention your starters aren't playing. I went to the Ford Field last week to see the Lions. Not one starter played, and it showed. It was pretty bad. So we're paying, just like you, Brandon. I'm paying full price for a preseason game that basically I had to scramble to find someone to go with, and to watch, guys that are competing for jobs on other teams, essentially. So I don't think it's worthy enough to keep going. They dropped it to 3. I can see them dropping it more, but I do like the inner team scrimmages, we'll say.
Yeah.
I could see that being a safer alternative.
Well, and it's productive, I think, for the teams to kind of evaluate within that circumstance, and like you said, keep players, high profile players protected. Right. So yep. I agree. All right, let's move on. Speaking of NFL, and let's talk about the trade divas out there right now. Like, what in the hell is going on? Like, we've got running backs, wide receivers, people just coming out of the woodwork that want to be traded. High profile players too. Diggs and Taylor. sitting in a pretty prime spot. I don't see, especially Taylor coming in. He's got a new quarterback that's high profile, a lot of upside there. Coming in on I think his last year of his rookie contract. And then Diggs. Is this the same Diggs? I'm going to go to you, Raj. Is this the same Diggs that we saw in Minnesota where he gets a little uncomfortable and starts fading a team and I want Baltimore kind of guy and then wants to be traded?
Sure as fuck seems like it, except for that last part. Today, 3 days ago, he said, "Rocking with my dogs" on Twitter, Bills Mafia through and through. He basically said today that like it's total nonsense, that he doesn't want to be traded. He's on the Bills for life, basically, even though we know that's not true. But yeah, you're right, dude. He's a shitty teammate. It's all about me. He pouted and threw tantrums again last year. He did that like he did in Minnesota. I just don't get that, right? Like receivers are always considered divas, and that shit will happen with them for some reason. Like the show Ballers focuses on that one Ricky Jarrett, and that's what they are. They're princesses. They need the best gown and the brightest tiara, and they didn't deserve it in their minds. What I'm curious about are these running backs that, Le'Veon Bell started that trend, right? With not signing a $14 million, $15 million franchise tag and sitting out, and he was shit the rest of the way. So now I think you just mentioned like Johnathon Taylor. I think Josh Jacobs just signed. We've talked about this. They get together and they're on text thread, and yeah, they have the shortest career span. They take the most abuse. They get paid shit. Only kickers are paid less. But what they're doing, signing, like, oh, well, they're I hate to use the word cancer, but cancer's in the locker room and in the huddle when they act like this. And no team has ever won when this shit goes down. None.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And, it's hard. You already have a players union that has made deals and rules, and you can't like subsidize that with a smaller, running back union that's going to come in and do anything. Like they're just not. It's unfortunate. I hate that they kind of get thrown to the wayside, but market value and it's a business and it is what it is and it sucks. But also I think the complaining doesn't help your case. So, Tom, I'm going to go to you. Sam Darnold in San Francisco being the number 2 guy, Brock Purdy number 1, by the way. What are they thinking about their first round pick Trey Lance right now?
Well, they've got to be kicking themselves behind the scenes because they gave up 4 first round draft picks essentially to move up to get him. But I guess you look at it, they're not sugarcoating it. They're just going with it. Obviously, Trey Lance injury last year keeps him out, and if you done this show a year ago and said that Brock Purdy was going to be your starter to start the 2023 season, I don't think any of us would have been like, huh? There's not a snowball's chance in hell. But this is a guy that goes 8-0 in the regular season for them, and he kind of won over the team. He won over the city, and I can respect the 49ers in a sense that they're not playing games as far as, well, we drafted Lance in the first round. We gave him so much, we have to play him. They're making the decision for the betterment of the team. Now, with that being said, they've made huge mistakes. Drafting a guy that played 1 year in college, basically sat out a whole season. He was not prepared, and he played in what the FBS or Division II. So he didn't see that upper tier competition. So I think they reached as far as, if we're talking about Robbie's draft, he might have reached, right? But the 49ers may have reached a little bit. And now it's just a matter of how can they salvage something out of them? Because when Sam Darnold's coming in and beating you out for the number 2 job, there's something really wrong here.
Yeah.
How much they can get back, I really don't know. I think they're just going to have to be stuck.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe a 7th round, which really doesn't do a whole lot for you. Now, do you keep them on the team for depth protection? I don't know. A huge judgment and error, and I think it's going to really pave the way for how other GMs look at maybe some of these smaller schools and evaluate draft. There's not a lot of Josh Allens in the world who came out of Wyoming, so
for sure,
few and far between.
That's exactly few and far between. And they took a chance on the guy. I do commend Kyle Shanahan in this situation, making the right call and maybe going against somewhat of the front office here. Trey Lance is just not. If you watched any of his preseason, I mean, this kid, he just looks. I don't know if he'd make it in college at this point right now. So
I think he's fucked up in the head, because when he started, he was actually really good. He averaged 4.2 or 3 yards per carry. He's only played in 3 games in his first year and really 1 game in his second. His head's fucked up. He's on a rookie deal from 2021. So he's signed through 2025. Darnold's on a 1-year deal. You can't have Darnold mentoring him and have him ahead of Darnold on the depth chart. I think it's more, let's see what he's got, because he's lost his confidence, obviously.
Yeah.
He was effective, man. It wasn't his fault. And, does it offset it in a sense that the 49ers look like they got a franchise quarterback still out of Mr. Irrelevant? Trey Lance is a Raider move, but the Raiders don't find fucking a franchise quarterback in the 7th round. So
the problem with your argument is the only stat you gave of Trey Lance was his yards per carry, and he's a quarterback.
3 games he's played.
That's an issue.
And they weren't great teams in 2021, obviously, because they were picking in the top 10.
Sure.
So
you got to throw it.
I'm rationalizing. I'm not defending, but I think it's obvious that his confidence is shot. I mean, look at Zach Wilson with Aaron Rodgers and having that mentorship, and then to be beat out.
That brings me to another question. And this, I'll go to both of you. I'll go to you first, Raj. So if Jordan Love comes out this year and he is anywhere in the top 15, he sat for 4 years behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat 2 or 3 years behind Favre. The days of quarterbacks that are talented and good coming in and learning a system and actually learning how to play and be an NFL player are gone. They just throw you in the gauntlet right away. And then if you don't succeed, you get thrown out and you're a journeyman. That's it. If Love succeeds this year, do you think GMs and head coaches start rethinking how they approach the quarterback position?
Potentially. Now, one thing I'll say about Love is the 2020 draft was sensational for quarterbacks. And talent evaluation was pretty strong. People said the 4 guys that went in the first round were pretty much going to be those 4 guys. The 3 guys ahead of him were Herbert, Tua, and Joe Burrow. So are we all going to get a bunch of fantasy notifications now? He was the 4th pick in that. So, it's his turn. And no QB was drafted after that for quite a while, if memory serves. So, I think he's got the goods, and we're about to find out. So my point being is, potentially, yes, you're right, especially if he tanks. But, this unique situation in the same organization, like you said, that has done this before, he's set up to succeed with a budding receiver and a veteran defense. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those conditionals. If he does well, then no. But if he goes Trey Lance preseason, then you're probably right.
Yeah, well, and from what I've seen out of Love this preseason, he's looked pretty damn good. And sometimes patience is a virtue, right? So this world that we live in, that what have you done for me lately, could kind of go by the wayside, because these quarterbacks, even though they play in the SEC, the Big Ten, and Pac-12, and they're high-profile guys, like, NFL's different, and it takes time and patience to come in there, and to demoralize someone, throwing them in the gauntlet immediately. Personally, I think it's gotten a little bit out of control. Now, granted, there are some athletes that can handle that, but for the most part, I think a year or two will do everyone good, franchise and the player. Tom, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it worked. It's a proven blueprint, we'll say. And if you look at what Brad Holmes did here in Detroit, he's got Jared Goff, and there's a decision to be made with Jared Goff. He's on a contract here this year. If he does well, there's no way they let him go, and there's no way he wants to go. So you re-sign him, but who do you have waiting in the wings? Hendon Hooker, who, let's face it, if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he probably won the Heisman Trophy last year. So I can see where there's teams that will look at their quarterback situation, say, hey, we're comfortable right now, but in the next couple of years, shelf life with certain players isn't that long. So if we can say, hey, we'll bring a guy in now, 2 years, maybe 3 years down the road, he's going to be groomed in our system, and he'll be ready to go. He's matured. He's learned the NFL game, and he's got an idea of what the speed is. So I think that's a good blueprint. But there's always these teams that are constantly losing, the Houston Texans, Carolina, they're enticed by the big name. And we're going to see this year with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, is it really worth high draft picks and doing what they did, throwing them in the gauntlet, as you say, Brandon, throwing them to the wolves? Is that going to be successful, or is it a situation where their confidence gets blown? So it's a smart play. And the NFL is kind of trendy, where you see a lot of GMs kind of like following suit with certain things. But it will be interesting to see where Jared Goff ends up. I do think he'll end up signing a couple-year extension. And that's perfect, because that puts him kind of past his prime when that contract will be done. Hendon Hooker will be fully recovered from a knee. Yeah. We know his athleticism, and then it'll be good to go. So I like the blueprint. Will other teams do that? It's hard to say. It all depends on their current quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Real quick,
no, go ahead.
He nailed it. It's blueprint. The Packers did the Lions blueprint. And that's why PFF had that Packers offensive line as number 3. It fell only because Zach Tom, who was one of their highest graded left tackles, drafted as a center, a young kid, is now playing on the right side, where he only had 84 snaps last year. But they did the same thing as Detroit without getting a Sewell. Elton Jenkins from Mississippi State, 2nd round. Josh Myers from the Ohio State Buckeyes, who's playing center, 2nd round. And then you got Bakhtiari and old Tennessee Titans, John Runyon, Country John Runyon. So vets and 3 young, promising OLs, 2 solid running backs, just like the Lions, 2 promising receivers, like the Lions, Romeo Doubs, and obviously Christian Watson. Very similar teams and a blueprint, like you said. Mm-hmm. So Love is really set up, that OL, running backs. It's kind of like a don't fuck up situation. And he's got 4 years in the system and obviously a great tutor in Aaron Rodgers. So, it's a unique situation. So you may be right, Brandon. Like, this is very rare. This only happens with the Packers when it comes to.
It's very rare nowadays. This used to be the norm 10 years ago. But now, that's what I'm trying to say. That's my point. It's like, and you see so many failures.
Way too many.
Like even Goff, look at his second coming. Like he's top 15 quarterback with the line, on a great team.
They couldn't get him out of LA fast enough. I mean,
for every Joe Burrow, there are 10 Jamarcus Russells.
Right.
Guys that start day one.
Yeah. And I think, these kids need time to adapt. They don't understand how fast the NFL is. And anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox here.
You're right, dude. You fucking nailed it.
We're getting close. Let's talk real quick. I know not everyone's UFC fans. Raj and I did kind of somber in through it. I was trying to go home, but I couldn't because I wanted to watch the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley. This dude, I had money on him. Everyone there who was a UFC fan said there's no chance. Now, let's not.
You went big on that shit, dude.
I did. But Aljamain Sterling is the greatest bantamweight fighter of all time. Let's just throw that out there. So this was a tall task. I'm a fan of the Sugar Show. This dude, he's got some hands, man. He can knock you out. He's a striker. Great defense. The matchup worked well. Sterling is more of a wrestler. He bodies you, throws you down. And, if he gets a hold of you, you're done. Like he'll submit you somehow. But that wasn't the case. And my boy Raj was right beside me watching it. So what were your thoughts when you saw that little step back fade knockout punch right there?
I think he's got some kind of fucking voodoo because that he's gonna throw hands, and especially his right cross. Everybody knew it, and somehow he stunned Sterling, who's just like you said, a sensational fighter, with a right cross, dropping him and taking him to the ground. Game over. Against Sukumath, he couldn't stand up, dude. He got dropped. And Sukumath, inexplicably, I forgot how to pronounce his name, but went to the ground with him. And all he had to do is just wail on the dude. And Sugar Sean ended up winning that one. He had a eye poke controversy, a weird leg injury, the Peter Yan fights. There's just something weird about the dude that, and there's some voodoo happens. This also was in Boston, and you got Sean O'Malley, fucking fighting in Boston.
Big Irish guy. Yeah.
A lot of weird shit, dude. And I don't know how you knew. I was shocked. And in his defense, he's not as arrogant as he could be. He's not Jake Paul.
He is. He's a showman, but he's he's very humble. If you actually get him in like a one-on-one interview, he's a very humble guy.
What did you see?
It's all show. It's all show.
Did you see his interview with Pat McAfee on Monday? He was in his bathtub. He was laid out in his bathtub, did the whole interview, butt naked in his bathtub. This guy. He's perfect. Unbelievable.
And I'm not name dropping, dude, but I have before. Benil Dariush is a friend. One of my best friends from college married his super hot sister. Sorry, Benny. Probably not the right guy to say that to. But we were in the same wedding party when I met him. And just a great kid. He was told, basically, to be that guy, to be more of a showman, to call people out. Dana White likes that. Now, I don't know personally if Dana White said, but let's just say it's obvious. That's just not him, and he doesn't deviate from that. In the end, he ends up having like some of the most fights ever in the lightweight category, and he gets one chance, and it's against an amazing fighter when he's 34. But if he was calling people out and talking shit and being that guy, he would have had a chance. He's not a showman, and the UFC is all about that. And Sean O'Malley is not a fucking dummy. But for people like Benny, it kind of breaks my heart. Like, it doesn't bother him. He teaches kids. He opened up more Kings MMAs. He's a very religious guy. Started a family. But I think it's a lot of bullshit, because there was a time where this dude would have beat anybody because he's such a smart fighter. But he refuses to be that guy. But
it is. But if you remember, Sean O'Malley came up through the Contender Series.
Yeah.
And was a nobody, like quiet, like just got out there and just threw blows. And then that's what they do. Once you're a superstar and they see potential and you, they groom you, and he turns into this, his first, words after, winning was, Conor McGregor didn't text me yet. Or didn't say anything. He's all worried about what everyone else is thinking. That's it. This kid is like living his dream right now. So kudos on him.
Why did you bet on him? Can you tell us why you bet on him? Because
I bet on him because
let me show the video, and then I think this will coincide with why you bet on him.
Get a feel for what it might be like early round 2. Sterling unable.
Yeah, so if you look at in his weight class and his reach, he's got about 6 inches on everybody reach wise. So he can sit back there, and he's one of the best strikers in the division. He can sit back there and just pick you off, and you try and close that gap, and that's exactly what happens. He steps back and catches you. So I've loved him in his fight since, I don't know, 2 years ago. He always knocks people out with that punch. So great striker. And I felt like it was time for the champ to go down. So
if you watch that, he almost like hypnotizes him, little like pendulum, and then he gives him that quick kick.
Well, his feints, man. He throws those feints, and then dude's trying to close the gap, and it's just, game over.
It's like a hitter against somebody throwing 100. You are starting your motion when the pitcher's still about to throw. You're starting your load, and he knew he was going to throw that as soon as. You're right. After that,
he knew he was going to get down. And side note, I heard on a little podcast with him, he like tore some kind of oblique muscle or something. He didn't grapple for 3 months. And still didn't until that bout, and didn't even have to grapple in that bout. So he wasn't even practicing. He was just trying to defend the whole time. So that was the key. Two different styles. Now, if Sterling got him on the ground, it's game over. O'Malley's done. But didn't happen. He defended and knocked him out. So that's just, different styles like that make for great fights. So anyway, let's go on to our favorite section of Bet Your Nuts.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
right, boys. I know you got some good shit for me tonight. Tom, I'm going to go to you first.
All right.
What do you got?
Football season, fellas, it's right around the corner. Woo, we got some games coming up this weekend and college. And the last week is NFL preseason. Ho-hum. But I'm going to go next Thursday. You got the Cornhuskers of Nebraska unveiling their new coach, Matt Rule, who, as a Big Ten fan, Brandon, I think you can, and Raj will be next year. That's a good coach right there.
That's a great coach.
That legitimizes the Big Ten even more. Going up to row the boat, Minnesota, they're the underdog in this game. I think Nebraska comes out ready to roll for their new coach. Give me Nebraska money line plus 230 over the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. A little bonus nut here. I got a little extra in the tank, we'll say.
Love it.
We're going to go down the road to East Lansing as the ambulance and fire trucks drive by. Fire up Chips going into the Fighting Mel Tuckers. Over under is 14.5. Give me Central Michigan to cover at minus 110. So fire up Chips. I think that could be a upset. The Spartans could be on upset watch. The casinos of Mount Pleasant, Chippewas are going into East Lansing and maybe not win, but they'll cover. 14.5 is a big number for a team that I'm not too sure how Michigan State's going to do this year. So give me the under in that one.
Dude,
I like it.
I'm tripping balls. I like when you're old, you don't really know what day it is. Kind of like Crocodile Dundee and the Aborigine dude. I had no, I could not. I was fucking. Wait a minute. UFC plays fucking Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm tripping. It doesn't seem like it's real.
Yeah. Week 0, baby.
Favorites against San Jose State.
I'll take the under on that.
I'll take the under, and San Jose State went 7-5 with 7-4 with a loss to Eastern Michigan in the bowl game. Their quarterback, Chevin Cordero, this is his 6th year in the conference. He loves to sling it. They're not a bad team. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. They return a lot of guys. Lincoln Riley is not going to show a lot in this game. My biggest worry is dudes like Caleb getting hurt or whatnot. SC tends to start out slow against crap teams at home. So I don't see us covering. For my just fucking house floor, dude, when you were talking about football, I was like, oh, it's like 2 weeks from now. Wait a minute. We play August 26th, which is like week 0. Personally, it's too fucking early, but I guess it's never too early for football. Anyways, I'm going to take Tampa Bay, the Rays, and the money line. It's like minus 150, but I'll throw it all on them tomorrow against the New York Yankees. Even though Garrett Cole's on the mound, he's fresh off of giving up 6 runs against Boston in 4 innings. The Yankees, as Brian Cashman has said, are a total disaster. They have lost 10 of 11 games, with their 1 win coming yesterday or the day before against the Nationals. Before that, they had lost 9 in a row. Conversely, Tampa is at home. They've got it back. They've won 6 of 7. Zach Eflin's a strong pitcher. I will take Tampa Bay at home against the imploding New York Yankees.
Love it. Tom?
Nope, it's your turn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You already went.
Different white guy with
yeah, so bet your nuts here. I know it's football season. I'm gonna steer clear because I'll have plenty of those. We go to the FedEx Cup right here. Big golf guy, if you didn't know. Colin Morikawa shot a 61 today. Wow. He leads at minus 10. He's a co-leader right now. I got him earlier. day after the first round. He started -4. Scotty Scheffler started -10. Shot 9 under today, started -1. So shot 9 under today. Anyway.
Who are you, Jimmy the Greek or Biff from fucking Back to the Future 2? Why are you
No.
fucking nailing all these things, dude?
So I got him earlier today at +850. You can still grab him right now at +450 to win the FedEx Cup. Dude loves Eastlake. He loves Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why does he play so well there? Why does the course play so well for him?
I don't know. It just, there are some courses, Raj, that just fit your eye and that just set up well to you. And like you can see every shot really well. And this is one of those for Colin. And I love him here. Shot a 61. Now that's going to be hard to follow, but if he can shoot 68, 67 the next 2-3 days, dude's going to win it. So
fit your eye. I love that. Love it.
Yeah, it's +460 right now, live. So I would take that. I got it at 850 earlier today, but I'd take the 460 all day. So with that being said, we'll go to our final words.
I got to put some new pictures up there for the final words to match the ones up in the corner with the pimp look B chain.
You guys rock the sincerity. I'm rocking the shock, and not only over you laying it big on Sugar Sean, you bastard. Brilliant, but yeah, football. Wow. I personally love SC. I think the slate's going to be too tough, but what they did on defense through the portal, thank you, portal. That's the one good thing that came out of COVID for us, is going to put them right there. And they have so much talent. Now, they don't have the hosses that you got at Georgia or Alabama, but I really think this year, and in my defense, you can look, I hate Facebook, but sometimes I'll post when I'm wasted. I put last year early on that Caleb Williams is arguably the best quarterback I've ever seen in college. And that was early. And he's a magician, dude. And if he doesn't pull his hamstring against Utah, that's a different game. They were winning that. So I think ST has a chance, man, to be there. And I don't think we can hang with the Georgias and the monsters at Michigan and maybe even Tofu, but I just want to get there. Really. So I'm stoked, man. There's a couple good, but I was going back to some good games, actually. If you like football, Ohio University against San Diego State, the MAC player.
Bobcats.
Hey,
I take the Bobcats on that one.
I would too, man. And, they're 3-point dogs. You got the MAC Offensive Player of the Year by far, even though he had an ACL injury in week 11 or something. I love that game. I like Vandy at Hawaii. Any chance we can condemn the entire SEC based upon their worst team ever, not beating, even if they win, if they don't win by 70, we're just going to talk shit because that's all we do with conferences, which is kind of why I do like super conferences, because that's going to go away to some extent. And Navy, Notre Dame, nobody ever likes seeing that Navy offense and, the triple option. But I also think Sam Hartman is really good. And I think Notre Dame is going to be sneaky great. And I'm going to try to go to USC at Notre Dame because that could be a phenomenal game. But you were saying there.
I like Notre Dame Notre Dame is 30 and a half
20
point
and a half.
favorites.
Yeah. 20 and a half.
I bet against that for sure.
You like Navy?
Yeah. Triple option teams, man.
Oh, they're in Dublin.
Yes.
Which is kind of like Sean O'Malley fighting in Boston. American Navy, I don't think they're going to be too well received, although the Irish are fairly neutral.
All right.
Sorry.
That wraps us up, boys. Or Tommy, you got it?
No, I'll keep it real short. Don't have much this week. I just want to let everyone know starting week 1 of the NFL, you're going to want to pay attention because we're going to be having last man standing. So basically, we're going to pick X amount of NFL games. We're all going to pick the same game, and we're going to kind of keep it running total throughout the season. Have a nice little inter-show competition. Maybe Raj can bust out that whiteboard again and keep track of everything. But so basically, the one caveat we're going to do is we're going to have the listeners kind of follow suit. They're going to bet on the games or pick the games as well. And at the end of the season, whoever has the best record, we're going to send out a prize. We'll have to figure out what it is. We'll put our heads together. But something to look forward to as the season progresses. Follow our lead, and if we're succeeding, keep following our lead. And if we're not, then you might want to pick somebody else. But it's going to be fun as the football season rolls around. But again, I apologize. As we went live, the storm came through like gangbusters. Thank goodness for hot spots on Verizon and cell phone lights, or I wouldn't be able to take part. So great show, Brandon. Awesome hosting. And Robbie, get better so we can have some fun teasing you again next week. By the way, the Easy Speak Season 2 fantasy football draft is Saturday. I'll be talking about that next week's show. So.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to be holding ourselves accountable
Football.
starting this football season of our Bet Your Nuts. So we'll have a scoreboard on that. We're kind of doing, like Tom said, like kind of a Survivor series as well amongst ourselves. So please like and subscribe, follow. We're just ramping up, and it's going to get better, and we're going to make you guys some money. So for that being said, I'm Brandon. We got Raj Mehta, Tom Salone. Thank you guys. Good night.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.